We are Geekcentric, and you can be too. Love ya. Get home safe, guys. Peace. My name is Kev, and I want to welcome you to the Geekcentric Podcast. Today, we discuss the future of movie distribution, take a brief look at the 2021 Oscar nominations, and then we're going to risk taking some serious flack for some hot takes about over- and underrated movies. But first, if you're joining us for the first time, this is a weekly show covering the world of film, television, gaming, toys and collectibles, and all things geek-centric. Joining me as always, first, he's never mad and never lies, but we all know he always cries. It's Nate.
That's great.
You're absolutely right. I'm never mad, I never lie, and I do always cry.
If he
That's
lies,
what
It's
right
so
now.
wonderful and endearing.
if he lies, he's just really bad at it. You could really tell that he's lying.
There's part of that.
There
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
go. And also, if he's seen a peanut, he'll need a cleanse, but he's an absolute stud when behind the lens. It's J-Law.
Oh, I got a face for radio kind of thing going there.
Stud
Oh,
behind the
no, I didn't
lens.
even mean that.
Dr. Seuss Kevin over here.
Yeah.
You should start writing kids' books, dude. That's great.
No way, mine would get banned so quickly.
It's true. That's true.
How we doing, guys?
Good.
Good. Yeah,
Well,
make
there
some
were
remarks
no
on
new
that.
Disney Plus shows this week, so kind of means we were able to take a week off of Watch Club.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So did that give anyone a chance to check out anything new or exciting? Let's jump right into Whatcha. Nate, what you been up to?
I mean, listen, a lot of gaming on the old Twitch there. Got a chance to stream on a Saturday night, which normally we're recording our watch clubs on Saturday night, so that was kind of fun. And I got to check out. First of all, I beat Cyber Shadow, so I actually beat probably one of the most difficult games that I've ever played in my life.
There we go. That's pretty impressive.
But I also played a game that I think, honestly, you guys would really, really love. So it's a side-scrolling shooter, very Contra-like, except you can't aim up or down. It's only aiming forward or back, and then you can jump and stuff. But it's like the most 80s thing that I've ever experienced in my entire life. Like the graphics are the sort of 16-bit, 32-bit style, and it's called Hunt Down. It's on Switch. You have to check it out. It's called Hunt Down. My cousin, shout out to G.I. Joe Yo Joe on Twitch for showing me that. He's like, you got to play this. So listen, really, really good time right there. I also got a chance to watch a movie that might come up a little bit later. Given one of the things that we're going to be talking about later.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I got a chance to watch Sound of Metal,
Nice.
which is starring Riz Ahmed. And dude, this movie was so good, like so good. There might be a bit of bias just because I connected with the movie so much more from a standpoint of a love of music, and also just a love of people. And the audio in this movie, it's like another character in the movie. Like it's like another aspect to the movie that you notice both before and after. I don't think it's a spoiler to say the main character loses his hearing, right? Which is in the trailer, but
Like Mike Hogan, who we've had on the program before, and might even bring in to talk about the Oscars, has recommended this movie to me 10 times probably. He's like, Kev, of all the movies I loved this year that you haven't seen, this one you'll probably really actually like. And so I don't know why I keep putting it off, but now that the nominations have come out and everything, it's on the list for sure.
It's really, really, really well done. So many little intentional things. And the fact that it's the director's first movie, like first directorial debut, and he's up for Best Picture, like that's huge. So I can't wait for more from him. And yeah, definitely check out Sound of Metal. It's incredible.
Awesome. I'm definitely taking that recommendation. But Justin, how about yourself? What you been up to?
You pointed out no Watch Club, no WandaVision, but there was a behind-the-scenes WandaVision experience, which was fantastic. I got to check that out. It really did take you through the whole behind the scenes and really highlighted the efforts that went into the first episode, and as well as all the other episodes, and just the sort of masterclass that it was for building sets and having flexible sets and doing all sorts of stuff to really hit home this idea of different eras of sitcoms. So it was really well done. Everyone had the same sort of comment as they were interviewing these cast members. It's so crazy to see how the Marvel Cinematic Universe has evolved so much to a point now where we're taking a hero and embedding them in a world that emulates a sitcom. That's just, it feels so meta, and also just giving more focus on these characters. So it was really great. If you haven't checked it out, 100% check it out. It looks like it's going to be an ongoing series. I feel like they'll probably issue an episode once Falcon and Winter Soldier's done.
That's on the schedule. It's basically on the schedule for everything they do this year, including movies, whether they'll be on Disney Plus or not. Yeah.
Yes. But I appreciate the fact that, to your point, Kevin, if they're going to be doing more with the movies and the TV series, behind the scenes, that it lives as its own series. But it was great. I would definitely check it out.
I actually think I'm watching it as soon as we wrap here this evening. So I am now even more excited to check it out. It sounds awesome.
Yeah, you'll enjoy it. The only other thing I've been watching amidst working and stuff like that is 24. I'm at season 5 of 24.
You're back on it.
Yeah, I'm fully into it. I am enjoying the journey of Jack Bauer. And it's really interesting because if you think of the times some of the seasons came out and how they really pull from either the news or even just political and political conspiracy theories to infuse it in their own story that they were telling. It's crazy how intense they go, and hats off to Kiefer Sutherland, man. He knows how to bring it.
I mean, Justin, you're making me want to watch it because I've never watched it. So I've heard really good things, but I also just it was I just missed it. But yeah, dude, I actually kind of want to watch it now. It sounds like you're having a really good time.
I've always considered it. I missed it for a lot of the same reasons as you, Nate. But how many seasons are there, Jeff?
There's 9 seasons plus a short movie season-esque sort of thing. It's interesting.
That's a lot. It's 200 hours plus. That's what's really daunting for me. Anytime you face down a project like that, it's
I think, though, the hook of the show is that every hour ends with a hook to get you into the next hour, right? It's not like you end and it's that story's completed. Well, the next episode will be a new story, kind of like a conventional sort of thing. It is one huge story that's being told. So I think that hook will definitely keep you intrigued and wanting to watch more.
All right.
Cool. Kev, what have you been up to, man? What have you been watching?
All right, well, I've actually had a crazy week as I look at my list, so I'm going to keep this as succinct and short for all of these as possible. We started up and caught up to date on Season 2 of For All Mankind. I can't believe they're still going in even deeper into these characters. I thought, where could they take them next? And I'm still engaged, so that one's good. Continuing on with Snowpiercer. I think it might be getting better.
What?
Not good, but maybe a bit better. The last episode ended, and I was like, oh no, let's go. I need more. So
okay,
and that's the first time I've really been well, I want to see what happens next. It feels like it's building almost to what could be the conclusion of this story they're telling, and I think it would be better off. I don't see how they can stretch this out another whole season, honestly. So
all right. So it's on its way. The train is on its way off the tracks.
Well, there we go.
There we go.
I've been rewatching Seinfeld, and that's a thing that just happens every once in a while. But it's so bloody relevant right now that Funko finally got the rights after 10 years of trying to get them. They finally got the rights, and we're getting our first line of Seinfeld pops.
How many are there? There's 30?
16 in the first line, I think. And I'm just we're going to get every single iteration of these characters that ever happened.
I feel like there's a lot of them. I'm so happy though that they've decided to finally, I don't know what the holdup was. I heard it was Jerry that was the one that they couldn't sign off. He wasn't ready
He's
to
always
give
the
up
most
his
difficult.
likeness.
Yeah, he's always the most difficult when it comes to that.
I don't want to be a pop. I don't want to be a pop.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Dude, literally just before recording this episode, I was watching Seinfeld, and I watched the Bubble Boy episode. So like I could almost see like a moment. You know how they do like the pop moments, and then it would be like George, like, and there'd just be two arms like off his neck coming out, right? And then like you could like face it so it's against the wall, so it looks like they're coming out of the.
I think.
Oh no, I'm
Boy.
sorry.
Okay.
That's the moops.
Yeah.
Right? It's Mars, you idiot. There are so many. This could be 100 pops deep. No
I'm letting
problem.
you guys collect them all because I want the 4 of them, and then I maybe want like one or two others, but that's about
Only
it. Like,
if The Office is nearing its completion. Now that they've hit all of the 14 main Office characters, there's not many left to do. So I could almost retire on that one and move on. Yeah.
Wow.
Sarah will be thrilled. Just really one more, I swear, and then we're done here. I rewatched. This feels weird to say, the original Justice League in preparation for our review next week of the redo reboot, which will have come out on HBO Max by the time this episode is live. But I will tell you, my notes are extensive. I'm literally going to be able to compare it. I made a note of what every scene was in order so that I could really see the differences. Like, I'm looking forward now to seeing how different of a movie, because the reviews coming out are saying it's quite different, at least.
Oh, they're saying it's entirely different.
And, speaking of a movie being released to a streaming service, I think we should jump into the news.
It's all about the details.
So this was actually a fairly relevant week when it comes down to the future of how movies will be released and distributed as far as it relates to cinematic releases versus streaming services. So our first story comes from Alex Dudok DeWitt, it's a cool name, at cartoonbrew.com. There's a new chapter in the great rewriting of film distribution rules. Raya and the Last Dragon, the latest feature from Walt Disney Animation Studios, has come out simultaneously in theaters and for a $30 premium fee on Disney+. This is Disney's first such release, and the initial results are a little underwhelming. Raya debuted at the top of the still tiny domestic box office, taking an estimated $8.6 million from 2,045 theaters, which was around 39% less than Tom and Jerry last week, which took home $14.1 million, even though Disney's release was far better reviewed than Warner Brothers' hybrid cat-and-mouse reboot. What's more, Tom and Jerry launched day and date on HBO Max for free. Of course, it had world-famous characters on its side, while Raya is an original story. Disney has not reported data on the film's digital sales, nor did it do so with Mulan, which it released on Disney Plus, and not in theaters, for the same premium fee in September. In the pandemic, other studios have at times trumpeted stats that suggest successful digital premieres, of their bigger titles, but anyways, Raya didn't stun overseas either. It took $17.6 million from 32 markets for a $26.2 million worldwide total. And even in its biggest foreign market, China, where Disney Plus doesn't even exist, it opened with 8.4, coming third behind 2 local movies. The film topped a number of markets in Southeast Asia, where the story is set, and it came second in Vietnam.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that made sense that it would do well.
It wouldn't do well in China. It was going to do better in the other parts of Southeast Asia than China, only because it feels more representative of those cultures versus Chinese culture.
Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure, based on I'm doing the math now, Avatar might have done better in China over the weekend when it was re-released, so that it could pass the box office record there. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
That people would rather see a movie they've probably already seen twice in theaters than a new title. But so what do we think of these early numbers for Raya theatrically? And how do we think this will affect Disney's distribution strategy going forward?
I mean, it's weird that they didn't they didn't talk about the digital sales numbers, because you think that would be something relatively high that they'd want to tout, right? Like,
what if it isn't?
Oh, maybe that's why they didn't.
What if it isn't?
Oh no.
Well, and I wonder if the numbers on the streaming services are good, but they're also realizing people almost will prefer to do this because it's only $30 versus I think they're making far less from these digital sales, obviously, than they would if a family of 4 or more went to the theaters. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Or they're playing political and they're not showing the numbers and how good they are because they don't want to distress the theater industry anymore. So I'm wondering if actually maybe the strategy of not sharing digital purchase numbers is more in line to just not distress the theater industry because of the fact they still have connections with the theater industry.
You know, that's actually really interesting you bring that up, because speaking of Disney distribution strategies, there might actually be some good news out there for theaters. With this next story, which comes from Ryan Scott at movieweb.com. Don't expect Marvel Cinematic Universe movies to debut on Disney Plus anytime soon, so long as Kevin Feige has his say. Given that Feige, who is the head of not just Marvel Studios, but Marvel in general, is one of the most prolific producers in Hollywood history, it stands to reason that Disney will give him more than a little say in the matter, and Feige remains committed to the theatrical experience. When asked recently in an interview about his devotion to preserving theatrical releases, Feige made it clear that the experience of seeing these movies in a theater is a huge part of what has made them successful. Here's what he said. It's impossible not to be excited when you go to opening night to 23 movies in packed movie houses and seeing the moviegoer's reaction. That's what drives us creatively as we make all of these, certainly culminating in Avengers Endgame and Far From Home. There's nothing better than that, and we don't want to lose it. I'm hoping we don't have to. If there's nowhere else to put those movies, that's another conversation. But I'm encouraged by the theaters holding on. Also, what's happening overseas in countries where the pandemic is more under control? Guess what? It's human nature to want to get together and have an experience. That's continuing in a very big way in countries where they are able to. And so, while last year has been brutal for movie theaters, with many of them around the world shutting down for months on end, and as a result, the box office has yet to truly recover, but as Feige points out, countries like China have seen a massive resurgence. My question to you is, do you think that as things improve, ticket sales will get back to normal, or at least closer to normal? And will they get to a spot respectable enough that a studio can still justify releasing a movie like Black Widow in theaters?
100%. I think so. I honestly think that while this has changed the course of options that can be offered to consumers about how they enjoy their content, whether it be at home or in a theater experience, Feige's entirely right. They built MCU off of the experience of going to the theater and these movies living in the theater, and us as friends going first showing to see these movies and having that sort of that fun of being the first to see it that night. So it's not that's not going. I can't wait to go see a movie. I can't wait to go see any movie, not just a Marvel movie, but any movie in theater with a group of people. So I don't think that this is necessarily hurting the industry. It just means that there's going to be more options for us as consumers as to what movies, and I'm okay with Disney making the selection to say, why don't we try to see if we can offer these movies on Disney Plus, right? And if you do the math, $30 and you're a family of 4 and you're at home, it's not overly expensive, more than what you would spend. I don't know, it just means more options, really.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like more options for them to strategize around, more ways for them to say, you know what, you're going to pay for this stuff no matter where we put it. They could be showing it on the side of a tin can. I'd still pay $30 to watch it, opening night, which that would be a weird experience. But there's a reason HBO, one of my favorite television, content providers, is called Home Box Office, right? They know, to the point where I remember going to the theater to watch episodes of Game of Thrones, in season finales of Game of Thrones with my friends. That it's an experience that we'll absolutely pay for. And yeah, just like any other kind of escapism, much like traveling, I can't wait to get back to it.
See, I agree. I can't wait to get to the theaters. That would never stop for me. But I also think, we're the type of people who do see 12 to 20 movies in theaters a year. Right. We just love the experience so much and would like to see a lot of movies. But for those people who maybe go to see 4 or 5 big movies a year, or ones they really want to see, but, wouldn't otherwise, now there's even less of a reason to go see a romantic comedy in the theaters. And so I do think you might see, now that there is an option to spend a little less and stay home and just relax, versus going to the theater for a Judd Apatow or a Seth Rogen comedy or something, I think those numbers might see a bit of a hit.
And we might see more of those kind of movies and properties lean more on streaming, right? And again, it's all about that strategy. So they have the ability to say, okay, this is not a theater movie. This is a streaming movie, right? And it's going to become maybe less of a there's going to be less of a differentiator, but I think they're going to be able to use that as a way to say, they will know what's going to make big bucks, right? Like a Star Wars, a Marvel, these kind of things. Whereas like they're smaller properties, they can save for Disney Plus, and it'll be just fine.
Yeah.
Well, I think the one thing we're talking about here is that we saw a lot less movies in theaters over the last year. And that means that with the most recent announcement of the 2021 Oscar nominations, I've probably seen fewer movies on this list than ever before, just because I didn't have a chance to go see them and the hype behind them leading up to the awards season. Yeah. So it certainly made for an interesting reveal, much like the Golden Globes. It was like, what's that? I'd heard about a few more of them because of the Golden Globes, but still haven't had a chance to take a look at them. But, the Golden Globes did take a bit of flack for the lack of diversity in their overall nominations, whereas the Oscars seem to have embraced diversity in film a little bit more from many different perspectives, and they're getting some praise for it. So this includes the fact that 3 black men, Leslie Odom Jr., Daniel Kaluuya, and Lakeith Stanfield, were all nominated in the Best Supporting Actor category. So that's the first time in history that's ever happened. Stephen Yeun made Oscar history as the first ever Asian American nominated for lead actor. And 2 women, Emerald Fennell and Chloe Zhao, were nominated in the directing category in the same year for the first time ever. In fact, 70 women received a total of 76 nominations, according to the Academy, which is a record for any given year. So how fantastic was it to see this kind of celebration of diversity this year?
Yeah, we were talking in our Golden Globes episode just about how, the whole showing was incredibly messy, but just, how much that was a through point for the entire experience of just them talking about it and making sure that they made aware that they are going to change. But it is nice to see the Oscars, learning from their mistakes. I hope they learn from the mistakes also of just how to actually do the show as well. Like I hope we see a better showing from them as well with the budget they have. But
I wonder, do you think, I'm not sure when they actually do their vote, like the Academy, but I wonder if they watched that show and saw what the theme of the night was and how it was brought up so much that it was. Do you think that swayed any, choices?
I think it's decided beforehand which movies would be nominated, right? Because screeners go out pretty early at the beginning of the year to kind of get the ball rolling, and I think this is the narrowing based on the selections. I'm not sure, but it could have. I do think though that the ironic thing is, because we talked about this in the Golden Globes episode, while there was a lack of diversity in the nominations, I don't think that was necessarily the case for who won, right? We did see a first Chinese filmmaker win for Best Director and Best Picture, which I think is great. Yeah, like you see the outline for all of these awards, and you see that there's a great range of diversity. The irony would be if that in all the categories, white males won. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Even somehow in Best Supporting Actress, right? Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, if Mank wins Best Picture, I'll be really upset.
Oh, so will I. I've actually seen it.
Yeah? Okay.
We're going to save our big, sort of Oscar nomination discussion for our prediction episode, which is going to air before the big award show. I thought we should quickly look at the Best Picture category. There were 8 nominees for Best Picture this year. The Father, Judas and the Black Messiah, Mank, Minari, Nomadland, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal, and The Trial of the Chicago 7. There were 3 films nominated here that were not nominated at the Globes for Best Motion Picture Drama. That would be Judas and the Black Messiah, Minari, and The Sound of Metal. While none of the 5 nominations for Best Motion Picture Musical or Comedy at the Globes made the Oscar cut. So with that said, does this suggest that the musical or comedy category lacks some credibility? Or does it instead suggest that the awards weren't varied, or the Oscars rather, weren't varied enough in the type of pictures they considered for this year's big award?
I think that's it.
With this list that we have, honestly, I mean, again, aside from maybe Mank, like, I've seen Minari, I've seen Sound of Metal now, I've seen Trial of Chicago 7. Like, I really, really do want to watch these other movies, and I've just heard phenomenal things about all of them. Again, besides Mank, but I'm very excited and intrigued, and I just can't wait to watch all these and to see if I agree with the critics on this one.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like when you look at this list and knowing in and around what each of the movies is about in these films, like there is a great, like, your best picture is like this is 2021 Oscars diversity.
I will say though, like, all of these movies they are Oscar movies. Like, when you go see a movie and you're like, oh, this is an Oscar movie. Not even just based off its quality, just based off of, like, thematically what the movie is.
You can tell from the trailer, yeah.
Yeah, it's usually like, it's like pretty slow. At least one person's crying in the trailer. Like, there's people yelling. Like, there's some of these tropes that start to fall into these movies, but I do love the fact that, again, the diversity of this list is so wonderful, and it really makes me more excited for this list more than I think any other Oscars we've had before.
Well, we will just have to wait and see. I believe the Oscars are April 29th this year. They're end of April, so we've got some time to catch up on that. I might try and watch one of the 6 best pictures I haven't seen each week leading up to it, which would be a lot of fun. And I'm wondering if any of those are going to be maybe a little overrated, and it'll be interesting to see. But speaking of that, I think we should move to the topic of the show. Okay, so let me paint you a picture here. It's a lazy Sunday afternoon a couple weeks ago. I'm on the couch looking for something to watch. I wasn't in the mood to watch any of these movies that have been recommended to me, and so I end up flipping through the channels, and I stumble upon a movie I'd already watched more than a half dozen times, probably a lot more than that. It doesn't matter how many times I've seen it. I will always put it on if I see it, just sort of flipping through. And it doesn't even matter where in the movie it is. I can just jump in and totally get engaged. And I truly do think this movie may be one of the most underrated movies that I really put up on a high pedestal. Now, I'm not going to reveal what that is just yet. I'm going to save that for a little later. But it did get me thinking about the topic of underrated, and for that matter, overrated movies. And that's one of the most interesting things about movies. The feelings and opinions they elicit in people, and how people respond to them is just so different, and that's what makes them amazing. Yeah. And before we get started, I want to clarify, there is no wrong opinion about a movie, or anything in entertainment for that matter, a TV show, a song, a band. You like what you like, and that's all that's important. But sometimes a large group of people will respond to something, either positively or negatively, and it just does not register that way for you. Furthermore, your opinion on something can change over time. Something you once held in very high regard might stink to high heaven upon a later viewing. So in a lighthearted and fun manner, I thought we should take a look at this side of the entertainment world through some movies.
All right, let's do it.
We're going to start with a movie that you think has just simply been overrated. A movie that received praise from perhaps both audiences and critics that just didn't click for you. A movie that smashed at the box office, but felt like a waste of money. A movie that raked up during award season, but which you feel deserved nothing but Razzies. So Nate, I'm going to throw it to you. What is a movie that you just think is so overrated it's mind-boggling?
Yeah, let's see the nice guy be mean.
Yeah. What a way to start this. Flipping it on its head.
If you want to hear him be mean, I guess you could listen to our Raya and the Last Dragon.
Okay, I was not mean.
3.5.
It's good. It's not great. Anyways, speaking of a movie that's not great, in fact, it's overrated. In 2019, I went to go see a movie, and this movie broke my streak of at least 23 years of not falling asleep in a theater. So I hadn't fallen asleep in a theater since I was a little kid, and this movie made me fall asleep. With an 83% tomato meter, that's fresh for those who are wondering, released in 2019 and directed by James Gray, starring Brad Pitt, Tommy Lee Jones, Ruth Negga, and Liv Tyler. This is Ad Astra.
Brad
movie.
Ass.
That might have helped.
First of all, I mean, right? If they had to call it
Brad's ass.
No, but if he showed some, tush.
some of his ass, yeah, absolutely. No, honestly, this movie, like, I feel like Brad Pitt owes me 2 hours of my life back because this was boring. It was slow paced, and like it was definitely they were trying to go for Oscars on this one. But honestly, like it was just like I couldn't even tell you what it was about. You know what I mean? Like it had something to do with Brad Pitt's character and his daddy issues. And again, as a huge fan of Lost, I'm no stranger to daddy issue narratives, but this one was flat. It was pretentious. I could not bear it. And I fell asleep. So, Justin, I remember coming out of the theater and telling you, like, I totally fell asleep. Like, I called you right after. I'm like, don't go see Ad Astra. Don't waste your money. Literally watch any other movie with Brad Pitt in it. And leave this one in space alone where it deserves to be, because this movie was garbage. Wow. Horribly overrated.
Well, I've never wanted to see it and want to see it even less right now. So,
there you go.
I thought this category is fun because it's either going to offend somebody or just help them out. Just help them make a decision.
Very helpful.
Yeah. Just, how about you? What is a incredibly overrated movie?
I want to talk to you about a movie from 2009. A movie that is deemed as like all-time blockbuster. It was actually in the news recently as it regained its title for most watched movie, and that is Avatar. I friggin' hate this movie. Like I honestly, like, from a technical standpoint, it's sure 3D was amazing, but everything else about it is absolute trash. It is so overrated. The plot has been done time and time again. Fern Gully, Pocahontas. And although the movie had a few good names attached to it, like Sigourney Weaver, it didn't quite live up to the exceptional film standards. It's a shock that there are multiple sequels planned, considering the original story was nothing to write home about. It came with 2 draws, obviously, it being demanded to be seen in 3D. Also, James Cameron's name was attached to it. It was the first movie he did since like 1997. It was like, what was he working on? Well, this is what he was working on. It really hasn't left any footprint in pop culture other than its $2.7 billion, which I think is now no longer. It's a lot larger now.
It's
and
up to
Disney,
about 2.9 now.
Yeah, $2.9 billion in the box office success. And even though Disney has its rides, which I will give credit for, the ride experience is a lot of fun. There's just so much about it that feels kind of also superficial and very racist, like the white savior complex.
Big time.
Coming in,
Pocahontas all over again.
Yeah, saving the people of color, right? But yeah, I just think that this movie, from the standpoint of its, like, I appreciate when good technology is merged with good storytelling. This was quite the opposite. This was crappy storytelling and crappy story merged with really cool technology that, quite frankly, people have already taken and done way better with storytelling, right? Like, you know what I mean? In terms of like the experience of actually leveraging that sort of 3D experience, and people are only going to go further. And that's all this movie really did, was just to say, here's a new technological advancement that filmmaking is now going to reach, a new bar that you will reach. So I don't know. I think this movie is incredibly overrated. Man, I don't understand anyone's appeal.
Listen, I hope that Disney is steering away from that. Like, you can kind of tell in the theme park how focused it is on the Na'vi and maybe a little bit less on the humans and like them invading and things like that. So I'm hoping with number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 12 that they do maybe fix that and they do focus just solely on the Na'vi. I think. And don't get upset with me when I say this because Raya and the Last Dragon. But I think, much like Raya and the Last Dragon, I think this movie did such a good job, though, of setting up a world. Like the world of Pandora. Honestly, dude, okay, well, maybe I'm just excited about it because I'm telling you, man, I think the character design, I think the world design, sure.
The ride is a way better job.
But the ride brings you
of
into the
establishing
world.
a world. Yes.
Sure. but that's the world that I want to see in the next few movies. And I think this movie still did that a little bit. So from a standpoint of like, why did people want to go see it? It's probably more for the visuals and the world that they built. Because I remember reading the little hand guide, the book that talks about the flora and the fauna of this world that the movie didn't even touch. Right? And again, it's a very similar situation.
So you wanted them to talk more about leaves and flowers that glow in the dark? I don't want that to be the direction of these
Give me
movies.
a documentary set in this world. I'll take that, Disney+.
I will say, I still think it's the best 3D I've ever seen in theaters. Like, felt like those things were coming out of the screen and you were moving almost through these 3D environments. And so I got to give it praise for the technical side, like you said, Just. But even just looking at, the movies that it was against in Best Picture, and fortunately it didn't take the award, much like Titanic did, about a decade earlier. But some of these movies I'm glad they at least didn't decide that based on box office alone.
And you bring up a great example of James Cameron's work, which is Titanic, arguably, if I might say, one of his best movies, if not his best, because it grounds such a historic, tragical moment with the human side of it, like the experience of what that went through. And he used his technology and used the ability of research and understanding to tell that story so well. So to me, that is an excellent example of the work that James Cameron can do when he's fusing, engineering new ways of filmmaking with storytelling. But to me, this was just heavy-handed new way to tell stories, not so much about the actual story, right? So the technology really was the forefront. But yeah, I honestly think this movie is heavily overrated, and I am gonna probably go see the other movies just to crap on them as much as I can.
We'll wait and see. I mean, listen, if Arnold Schwarzenegger is stoked for it, then I think we're gonna be excited too. But Kevin, what is your overrated?
All right. Now I think this is going to be a pretty unpopular opinion with kids of the 80s and early 90s.
That's me.
But this family adventure film which is usually a genre I'm obsessed with, is just an absolute stinker for me and always has been. Now, to be fair, I didn't see this movie for the first time until I was in my later teens, but I will not let that be the determining factor for why I didn't connect with it. There are a lot of movies from this time period that I didn't see until much later, and they held up. So I'm not letting the fact that I didn't see this movie that I was supposed to see as a child not register with me. The movie I'm talking about is about a bunch of adventurous kids who need to stop a property developer from taking over the land where they live. Fortunately, they find a treasure map, face a series of dangerous obstacles before saving the day. Of course, I'm referring to The Goonies. Or The Boonies, as I would call them.
Oh, no.
I've honestly just never understood where this obsession in pop culture has come from with these movies. Like, I think you see more Goonies t-shirts than just about any other classic 80s, 90s movie when you're at conventions and just at the mall and stuff. Like, people love this movie, and I cannot understand why.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like it might have been more of a... Like, I've not seen it, but might have been more of like a cult classic, I think, maybe, than even critically received.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it took time for audiences, especially kids, to, like, I hear people and they're like, I've seen it 27 times, and they can quote the movie, even though it's like, other than "Hey, you guys," which every character says 47 times each, it's the only memorable line of dialogue. Like, it's just, the bad guys are bumbling idiots, not menacing. The kids are loud, screamy, whiny, and obnoxious, and, like, mean to each other. They're not like this fun team of kids who are, like, scared but adventurous together. They're all just, like, scream. They all just scream the whole time. It's like they, took from Temple of Doom with what's her face and just scream a lot. Right.
It's almost like I guess, would you say that they mashed up, like, Temple of Doom and E.T. maybe?
Sure. And
that's the movie we got.
Sure. And then added meanness. All these kids bully each other.
Oh, no.
Like poor Chunk. I don't like when they pick on the fat kid. That's mean.
Yeah.
And his character alone, he's so one-dimensional. He just likes to eat. Like, give me a little substance behind these characters, Data likes to invent, and that's, Sean Austin's character, Mikey, has asthma. There we go. We've defined the character. I never found the adventure all that engaging. Like, especially because it's so dark the whole time. Like, you're in these dark caves and can't really see anything, and the sound editing isn't good enough to justify that.
It's cheap filmmaking, like cheap tricks.
Yeah, it stunk. It just stunk.
Right.
You know, I watched so many of these kid adventure movies growing up, and this is like bottom of the barrel for me.
All right.
But it's one thing when others overrate a movie. How about when we do it ourselves? Sometimes we watch a movie and think it's just fantastic. Most often these are movies from, say, our childhoods that, you know, have simply enamored us. However, when rewatching a movie that you loved, years later, you're devastated to discover that they just have not held up. Maybe sometimes special effects hinder a movie's lasting quality. Sometimes it's simply that they've become dated due to being too encapsulated in the time that they were made. But yeah, let's jump right in and take a look at some movies we used to think were great, but really aren't anymore. Justin, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, I think the last point that you said there, that's kind of the lens I look at the most. Like, yeah, you know, you watch some movies. I always find I can suspend my disbelief and remind myself this is a show or a movie from this period of time, hence why the comedies like this or certain sort of styles of action or graphics. But I think the biggest thing is actually, like you said, like being so encapsulated with the time that it's more hindering on how much I've grown. So I've grown to see things differently, and I've now have suddenly learned, you know, through watching these movies that, you know, the perception of race or cultures or things are very biased and very negative, if you will. So the movies that I'm specifically speaking about are actually Raiders of the Lost Ark and Temple of Doom. Both. Just having Temple of Doom more so with its portrayal of Indians, you know, the eating of the brains, how they were so made to be so menacingly evil. I also think that, you know, the crux of the movie being a Asian kid who represents quite a variety of Asian stereotypes, from his accent, his dialogue, to just his cultural, I guess what you would say is lack of Western culture, because he is obviously East Asian. You know, it's just so apparent that these are used as tropes to create comedy while also creating villainy. And a sense of fear. Raiders of the Lost Ark I thought was interesting just because clearly Marion and Indy, there's like a 10-year gap, and they had previously been dating. So in the movie, she's in her 20s, but then they had dated previously, and I think it was like 10 or 12 years before, which means she would have been like 10 or 12, and he was in his 20s when he was dating. So, but anyways, these are just examples. I picked these two because we had actually talked about Indiana Jones as Nate had watched them. So I thought just being fresh in everyone's mind, maybe that might be one that was relevant. But you know, it's just it's things that obviously now, as the times have changed, they're not necessarily going to age well over this period of time.
Yeah, you see it, and it's clearly played for a Western audience, right? Like you've got fortune, like oh, it feels like I'm stepping on fortune cookies, Dr. Jones, and it's like, yeah, fortune cookies aren't even Chinese. Like that's an American-made thing.
You got to feel bad for Ke-Huy Quan, because he's been mentioned in the last two movies. So he obviously played Short Round in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and then played Data in the Goonies. You know, and very much that very stereotypical character. And he was a huge child star and like beloved around the world. But you do look at it, and it's a dated characterization.
And
both
also
characters.
how he was appreciated, right? Like what representation of, you know, it's like now that's why actors are making that choice. Do they want to play the black, you know, gangster? Do they want to play the Arab terrorist? Do they want to play, you know, the headstrong Chinese,
data analyst?
Yeah, right. Like, so it's this perception piece, right?
But that was actually a surprising one. I thought I was hoping you'd say something maybe like Bad Boys 2 or something. But Nate, how about yourself? What's a movie that you used to adore but now don't think holds up?
Well, listen, I tried to I tried to do this. So what I did instead was, instead of a movie, I chose a video game. And so just as something a little bit different. So I went with a game. So, some games stick in your memory for how amazing they were and still are today, right? Like, I mean, there's a reason that some people are still playing the original Mario, the original Tetris, the original Pac-Man. I'm playing the original Mario every Sunday on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/NatePlaysGames, little plug for you there. But growing up, my favorite games were games that I could gather a lot of people around my TV and have a great time with, right? Like the party games, your Smash Brothers, or your Mario Party. And so, Mario Party was an amazing game for that purpose. So when Microsoft introduced the original Xbox on November 15th, 2001, they also released a launch title for it called Fusion Frenzy.
Wasn't that Fusion Frenzy?
Yes, that was the one. And it was Microsoft's answer to Mario Party when it launched. And I remember having insanely great competitive nights playing on an oversized, massive Xbox controller. Those controllers were so big. And I just remember like the high-octane, amped-up Mario Party clone that it was. Well, the year is 2021, and I recently had the opportunity to revisit Fusion Frenzy, complete with 3 other players, and the nostalgia that filled my brain quickly drained from my entire body as soon as we got to the third mini game in our play session. This game absolutely does not hold up, and not even just visually. Like, I would call it the Taco Bell of party games, because I remember 3 of the games very fondly, and then 40 other games are just mixes and mashes of all the other, it's like collect the orbs. Okay, and then in this game, you're going to collect the orbs, but you're in a boat. Now, in this game, you're going to collect the orbs and you have to deliver it to this place.
And this time, you're in a big steel ball that you roll around in to do the same thing. Yeah.
Right, and it's literally the same thing over and over and over again. And it's terribly designed. Like, the maps are terribly designed. The levels are terribly designed. The characters are just like really poorly done and cheesy, and not cheesy in a good way, like how we remember how good cheesy things could be. The most unfortunate part is, where I can say like a bad movie like, 2001's A Space Odyssey created the foundation upon what, great movies like Interstellar are built upon. You can't say the same thing about Fusion Frenzy, because there's so many games that did it right before and after.
That's you're like breaking my heart, because I haven't played this game in probably over 10 years or, close to. And my brothers and I must have played this thing for 100 hours. Right, How did we spend so many nights playing such a boring, just repetitive game?
I think it falls under the category of games that you played simply because you didn't have any other games to play. And then Blockbuster was closed, so you couldn't go out and rent a game, or maybe you just were the kind of family that you bought one game and you just stuck with it. It could have been the fact that maybe you just, bought the Xbox, so like you don't have money for games anymore, so you're going to play this one. Honestly though, if you haven't played it in a while, just keep your fond memories of it and leave it right there. Leave it in your memories, because it is horrible. It's just so bad. It's so bad. Yeah. But Fusion Frenzy just sizzled out, and just leave it there. Don't go back to it.
So it's not Fusion Frenzy, it's Fusion Frenzy.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so sad. All right, well, now for my choice, this would probably be said about most of the movies starring the actor that stars in this film. And while I used to really enjoy the sort of dim-witted vulgarity of his jokes, they just come off as so Bush League and immature and just plain dumb seeing them now all of these years later. Now some of his movies try to give at least a certain depth of heart to the titular character, but that is absolutely non-existent in this one particular movie. The movie I'm referring to is Billy Madison.
Really?
I loved Adam Sandler growing up through the 90s, and I thought Billy Madison was the funniest movie ever made for like a whole summer when it came out.
Yeah.
But when it came on a couple of years ago, I figured, I'm going to check it out. I haven't seen this in, decades. I almost instantly regretted it. Within 5 minutes of hearing that agonizing baby voice delivery, I wanted to invent a time machine just so I could go back in time and kick my own ass. I think Adam Sandler is kind of talented, at least as an actor, right? He's put some pretty good performances into movies like Punch Drunk Love, Uncut Gems, The Meyerowitz Stories, which I'm sure nobody's seen, but it's a great little Netflix flick. the only good one of his on Netflix, I'm sure. And then even in the more traditional comedy roles he's known for, there have been some movies that were at least fun and enjoyable and kind of hold up to lower standards that you would have had for them then. The Wedding Singer and 50 First Dates are nice romantic comedies. Happy Gilmore and Longest Yard are perfectly suitable sports flicks. Even Big Daddy is sweet enough at times to get a pass from me, and I thought Hotel Transylvania was one of the more enjoyable non-Disney or Pixar, animated films of like the last decade. I really enjoyed that one. I had a lot of fun. And like I've watched all of the movies I just mentioned at least once since seeing them for the first time, and again, they hold up for the most part. But Billy Madison was so obnoxiously bad that like it made me angry. It made me like physically angry just how annoying
Really?
it was. And I could not understand how I ever just like I know too many lines from that movie that will forever be embedded in my brain, taking away space to more valuable information. That it's like it's so bad it makes some of the Netflix Sandler movies almost look okay.
Yeah.
And that's saying something. I like Sandler when he's not doing a stupid voice. Like, I like him on the screen until he's talking with a stupid, unrealistic, dumb voice. Like, Hubie Halloween, oh my God.
I was going to say, don't watch Hubie Halloween if that's the case.
Hated it.
But, like, I'm looking at the Rotten Tomatoes, and literally, like, all of the movies, without clicking into all of his movies, all of them are... The critics are much lower, and the fan rating is much higher, right?
Oh, big time.
And like,
until you get to the top of the list,
in
terms of the ratings, like your Uncut Gems
Sure.
then he's getting some really good critical reviews. Yeah. Let's move on before I have like an aneurysm here. So finally, sometimes we watch a movie and can't understand why everyone who sees it doesn't just instantly agree it's awesome. It's not that we necessarily think they're the greatest movie ever made. I mean, maybe we do, but it's more that we feel they never quite received the reception they deserved. Perhaps people didn't support the movie at the box office, or perhaps they were just overlooked during awards season. And that's where my choice for the most underrated movie of my lifetime comes in. The movie I mentioned at the top of the show that I would see on, and I'm going to watch it every time I see it on TV. And again, it's not like it was poorly reviewed at all. People like it, but I don't understand why they don't love it. The movie was released in 2000 and features a recently engaged FedEx employee with a sore tooth that is suddenly isolated on a remote island with seemingly no chance of escape or survival. That is, until he completely transforms himself to become the ultimate survivalist, albeit with a bit of a kooky insanity thrown in. The movie I'm talking about, of course, is Castaway, and features not only one of Tom Hanks' best performances, but what I truly believe is one of the greatest single performances in cinematic history.
Wow.
And now Hanks won the Golden Globe, but that was it. He won the Golden Globe for his performance, but that was it. The only other award the film got a nomination for was for sound, and that was it. No cinematography, no directing. Like, to pull off what they did in this movie, I thought was just incredible. I even think it should have gotten some recognition for screenplay, to be able to write this engaging character with no dialogue that keeps you transfixed on his every action and his every move, and you feel all of these things around him. It didn't get a Best Picture nomination at either the Globes or the Academy Awards. And again, the fact that Tom Hanks lost out to Russell Crowe for Gladiator, which was a good movie and a fine performance, but could belong on my most overrated list, in my opinion. And even just a 73 on Metacritic, a 70.8 IMDb fan score. I just think it's so low. And I think one of the things this film does best is its pacing. It is like the most realistically paced movie ever. You start in the just mundane, everyday life of this guy, and then that plane crash hits, and it's like one of the most harrowing experiences I've ever had in a movie theater. Is he's plummeting to his certain death, and then the time on the island and his transformation over time, and the fact that there's no music that whole time they're on the island, and there's no dialogue, not even through narration. Like, I just think it's a stunning achievement in film. And again, I know most people like it, but I'm surprised how many people don't just love this movie.
Well, I'm with you. I think it's arguably one of his best performances. It is a fantastic story. Tom should have beaten out Russell Crowe. Didn't he? He wasn't nominated for Best Director, and it wasn't nominated for Best Picture. So it's crazy that in 2001, the plethora of films that superseded this for Castaway to go under the radar, so to speak, to only be nominated for actor and sound for what they achieved. Like, I agree with you. I think it's
no cinematography. The filming of that island, the beautiful island, becomes a character in this movie. It's crazy.
Yeah. It is kind of heartbreaking how few people do really revere this movie. I honestly love this movie. I actually really, really loved it. And it's funny, I loved it probably before I should have loved it, because like I saw it, it came out in 2000, and I think I saw it shortly thereafter, and I made my parents like rewatch it with me, and they're like, "Do we have to? Like we have to sit through
you would
this?"
have almost thought it was a bit slow for a kid.
But I think honestly, part of it could have just been Tom Hanks, honestly, because he's so good in this. He's so captivating. He's so like you can't stop watching him, which obviously you can't because he's the only thing on screen for him between him and Wilson. But and like I remember wanting a Wilson ball so bad. Like I was like, why isn't this a thing that people make? And I'm like, why can't I buy it? And I still never got one.
Well, and like even Wilson, I think a lot of people maybe found him a bit silly because I know it was parodied a lot and stuff. I think it was an absolutely brilliant way to bring another character into that movie so he could explain to the audience what was going on through something without just standard narration or, talking to himself.
You see the inspiration of a character like obviously the book was written long before this, but like in the movie, like Smeagol and Gollum, like having their characters play off of each other. Like it's cool to see that you can still have this one guy on the screen, but still have the inner workings of his mind as a separate character. It's just well done.
You see it becomes a strategy for him to maintain his sanity, right? And also the interjection of the Wilson ball is kind of to Kevin's point, to break the silence, to break that natural silence of the island, and him and his frustration and the digging and all those sort of things, those ambient noises, and suddenly now we have this introduction of this personality, if you will, that he can now interact with and create sort of balance his mind, right? So,
and I think just on maybe one last final note here, I think some of the not negativity, but some of the naysayers will sort of focus on the last sort of chunk of the film when he gets back to the real world as maybe being a bit slow, but I think it was so important to show that transformation for him to have to come back into this real world, and all of a sudden, after wanting it more than anything for 4 years, for it to not feel right and to almost like not accept him back in.
He's displaced. Yeah.
And it was just such a great jarring character move, tonal pacing move. Like it just, the whole movie makes it so realistic based on those differences in tone and everything. So
I'm going to watch that movie again now, Kevin.
I want to watch it right now.
Let's watch it. Oh, that's good. All right. So it's working.
No,
what about you guys? Who wants to jump in?
I'll go. I think these two movies, I picked two, and I'm not going to give you too much background on them, other than what it is, what year, and who's in it. But these are both movies through the same sort of like lens of thinking about recognition that I feel like we're kind of snubbed in the awards from the years that they were, they came out, that they could have won some awards and actually, been recognized. The first one was actually starring Brad Pitt, Scoot McNairy, Ben Mendelsohn, Richard Jenkinson, James Gandolfini, Ray Liotta, and Sam Shepard. Great cast. It's called Killing Them Softly. It's directed by Andrew Dominic. It's a gangster movie with a dose of a kind of a dark comedy. It has a very unusual tone. It's not your traditional gangster movie, so which is what I think kind of hindered on it. It's a very, very overt commentary on capitalism. It's very difficult to describe too, which is why I'm not going to get too ingrained in like trying to outline it. But it's not a fast-paced gangster movie. That's the first thing. Like a Goodfellas, right? Like Goodfellas is very fast-paced, right? Another overrated movie in my opinion. Hot take. But it's a slower, quieter, and there's flashes of gunplay. Like the action feels very less of an emphasis versus something like Goodfellas, where the action and the guns and everything is just like it's the driving force. And also, it has some of the best closing lines in the end at the end of the film. So you'll just, if you guys check it out, it's something to appreciate. It's only 93 minutes, right? So that's the other thing. The runtime isn't extensively long, so it's fairly enjoyable.
I know I saw it, and I almost feel bad because I do remember very little of it. But I do remember that was like a standout performance from Ben Mendelsohn for me. That was kind of the first time I ever was like, who's this guy? He was great as that, like a very small character, but you're right. It was far less of that flashy shoot 'em up gangster movie, and it was far more like a character piece about the what this darkness does to these people.
I was a fan of No Country for Old Men. So it kind of has that same sort of vibe in terms of like that action and so on. So
absolutely.
I'm a little bit worried though, Justin, because you said it's got Brad Pitt in it, right? And it's got a very fresh critic score, but a very rotten audience score. So that's, are we looking at another ass Astra?
Maybe. You might fall asleep. It's very possible.
Yeah.
I do think
don't watch it too late.
The second movie, though, I think you might enjoy, actually, Nate. This one was released in 2013. Stars Ben Stiller, Kristen Wiig, Sean Penn, Catherine Hahn. This is The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. I love this movie, man.
Oh, really?
I've never seen it.
Yeah, a man living in a dull life dreams up romantic and action-filled scenarios in order to escape the monotony of life. When his new job is threatened, he sets out on a real romantic, action-packed journey. This movie, it's directed by Ben Stiller. It is whimsical. It's a feel-good dramedy about a daydreaming middle-aged man who wants more out of life. It has very tender moments, has really great cinematography, and although many critics have deemed it as being overly sentimental and unrealistic. So I think that's part of the reason why. That's one of the biggest criticisms of it. Maybe it is, but it works. Even if Walter's journey is entirely implausible, the movie is a nice escape from reality, which just feels like a feature-length daydream. So it's really nice.
Yeah, it's a lovely movie. Like, it's one of those movies that you come away from and you're like, that was just so lovely. And like, I think the fact that it's like Justin, I think you probably really dug the photography aspect to it, because I know there's
the story,
definitely a lot
of,
it kind of leads there towards the photographer. And Adam Scott, I thought, did such a good job at just being an asshole so much. And
he's from Parks and Rec, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He just did such a good job at being someone you want to hate, and the whole movie, like, it's very relatable. And I think the fact that for any critic that said that the movie was too unbelievable, it's like, that's the point. That's the whole freaking point of the movie.
I appreciated about it. Like, it used cinema, the trope of cinema, to create these daydream, escapic sort of stories that just that fit really well, and they felt cinematic, and like, kudos to Ben Stiller for really challenging himself and pushing himself to like really create something that was very immersive, versus Cable Guy, so you know what I mean, like,
right, yeah.
I just mean, like, there he kind of leaned into wanting to do a different type of storytelling, which I think is, I can appreciate.
Like, I'm almost bummed now that I've never seen it. And I think I remember not going to see it because, as much as I thought it looked really cool, the reviews weren't outstanding. And so I was like, then I can miss this one. But, like, I hate when a movie isn't appreciated simply because it's not the most thought-provoking or the deepest or it doesn't have to be the best for it to be enjoyable in this, and I love nothing more than a nice, easy, feel-good movie. So I'm checking it out.
Watch the trailer. I feel like the thing that sold me was the captivating trailer that I watched in theaters, and I was just like, what is this? Like, it just looked incredible. So,
and I remember the trailer not giving too much away.
No, it was all visuals. That
makes a
visuals.
Great trailer.
Yeah. It was all visuals, cut to some really great music, and it kind of created a mood more than a sort of like a depiction of the narrative. So it was great. So yeah, definitely check it out. Those are my two underrated movies. I know you only asked for one, but I give you 2 quickies.
Nate, why don't you close us off here, bud? What is a movie you think is just criminally underrated?
All right, I'll try to talk about this movie, and I'll try to talk about it fast, huh? I am going to talk about my underrated movie, which is directed by the Wachowski sisters, released in the year 2008, and it stars some really wonderful people. You've got Emile Hirsch, you got Susan Sarandon, John Goodman, Christina Ricci, and so it's got Hiroyuki Sanada, who is going to be in the new Mortal Kombat movie, and it even has Jack Shepherd himself, Matthew Fox.
Oh, yeah.
Before I get into it, hang on. I need to start out with this shout out. I need to start off with an apology, you guys. I'm sorry. Okay? I'm sorry because the argument that I'm about to make for this movie, I realize is exactly the same argument you were both making for the upcoming Mortal Kombat film or movie. In that this movie knows exactly what it is, what it needs to do, and it does some things that are just incredibly visual. And it's probably the best representation of a live-action anime that I've ever seen. Of course, I'm talking about 2008's Speed Racer. This movie is so good, Kevin. Please give it another chance. Please.
I can't. I think you've already hurt your case by saying that it's a good representation of the source material. And Speed Racer was never my jam. So I just have never had a desire to check this one out.
I think here's the thing, though. I agree with you in terms of if it wasn't your jam. Honestly, I didn't grow up with Speed Racer either. I've seen a few of the episodes of the original, and then I went back and rewatched a little bit of it after seeing this movie just to kind of get more of an understanding of what was going on. But I think it's the cast, Kevin. It's the cast that is going to be the catalyst by which this movie becomes approachable for people like yourself.
Okay, yeah, the cast does look good. I'll give it that.
Yeah. No, the cast looks great. I think though the thing that's really interesting, it might be the same thing of how I felt with the Dragon Ball movie. They got a lot of things wrong with that movie, but one thing they actually got right was the sort of campy, oddball comedy that they infused in the cartoon. Maybe not so much in the comics, but it was a little bit in the comics, but more so in the cartoons, which is what was my source material. This had that sort of vibe of feeling very centric to its time and the time it was representing, and especially just like that sort of kitschy sort of pop culture East Asian sort of fusion of like comedy fused into it, like with animated graphics and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm gonna watch it again because after you offering it up, because I think that this is interesting. This is an interesting one to consider as underrated.
I will say though, and again, I'll have to relook at the source material, but I don't really remember even the original Speed Racer being overtly Japanese. Yes, the characters were Japanese, they spoke Japanese, but I don't the whole point of that show is the obsession with race cars and racing, right? And I just feel like it I don't know, there's a lot of Western influence in it, and I think it works for the film. I think there was a review on Rotten Tomatoes where it was described as overloaded with headache-inducing special effects. Speed Racer finds the Wachowskis focused on visual thrills at the expense of a coherent storyline. And listen, I think what really makes this movie, what it gives you is the experience, not unlike its main character, right? It's very similar to Speed Racer. It's incredibly fast, it's confident, and the whole film has just a heart of gold with unmatched visuals. And I will say this, the visuals in this movie feel like it almost feels like The Matrix was a warm-up for the Wachowskis. That's how good I'm going to say the visuals in this movie and how different they are in this film. It's just, they're so good.
Well, see, because it's funny you say that because, I look at the year 2008, and if I'm thinking Wachowskis, I'm thinking Matrix or V for Vendetta, that, futuristic dystopia, dark action adventure, not this bright, colorful, kiddie, campy race car movie,
But
so
again,
that's not what I wanted from them at the time. I don't think it's what I want from them in 2021 either, but
it's honestly, though, it's just, the fact that people find the storyline to be incoherent it just means they've never watched an anime before, because that's what all animes are like. That they're messy storylines that don't make a ton of sense, that are overly complicated, And I just think if you haven't already watched Speed Racer and you read the negative reviews, do yourself a favor and go Speed Racer, because I'm telling you, the final, like, to the point where, like, this isn't really a spoiler, but in the final scene, there's literally a montage of all of the characters, like, saying stuff as the character's trying to do, like, this big moment, and he's going through this, like, really epic moment at the end of the film, and there's characters like, I always knew he could do it, and then there's the bad guy like, there's no way he'll ever win. Like, it's just it's so well done, and it knows what it wants to be. It reminds me so much now, having seen Cobra Kai. I rewatched some of the best scenes of it because I didn't have time to watch it all today. But it just reminds me so much of that. It reminds me of it knowing what it wants, and then seeing Matthew Fox on the screen and seeing some of these actors, act the way they're acting. It's just so good. But anyways, it's underrated. It's absolutely underrated. Kevin, give it another shot, please.
And music composed by Michael Gianchi. So
yeah,
dude,
I'm telling you, man, it's got everything going for it.
Alrighty, well, that was a lot of fun, but before, we're getting a little long in the tooth here, so before, like, 5 movies get released and have enough time to become overrated or underrated, let's wrap it up. We've had a lot of fun destroying beloved classics and overhyped mediocre duds, and have probably hurt the feelings of some along the way. In fact, we'd love to know, what are some movies you felt are either over or underrated? Or what was a movie that you used to love but hasn't aged well? And if you disagreed or agreed with us, we'd love to hear from you as well. So shoot us an email and let us know. Justin, where can they do that?
They can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com.
Oh, you know what? That is an underrated email address, if you ask me. But whether you agree with us or not, we really hope you enjoyed this week's episode. If you did, please be sure to subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to your podcasts. And as always, 5 stars is very much appreciated. I always feel like an Uber driver saying that, but it's very true. We are Geekcentric, and you can be too, which means you can check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/geekcentric. Our latest Kev at Home for the WandaVision finale is starting to gain some traction. So if you haven't already, please check it out and recommend it to anyone that was a fan of the show. We're also active on all of the other big social medias, including Twitter at GeekcentricYT and on Instagram at WeAreGeekcentric. Check us out, give us a follow, and of course, you can also join in on Nate's ongoing video game adventures on stream at twitch.tv/NatePlaysGames. Nate, what do you have coming up?
I'm still rocking out on some Super Mario Sunday every Sunday night. As I said, I beat Cyber Shadow, so that game is done on stream. I might do a little bit more Hunt Down on stream. So if you guys want to see that wonderful 80s action, nostalgia trip of a game, definitely tune in for some Hunt Down streams. But yeah, we've got a lot of fun stuff coming up, including you know what? I might get back into Pokemon trading cards and start opening those on stream. So if you want to be part of the hype that is opening Pokemon cards, you can feel free to tune in.
Oh, exhilarating. Mm-hmm. I just read about a guy who recently opened a 20-plus-year-old pack of Magic cards and found like a card worth $100,000 or something.
Insane. It's insane.
Maybe you'll find one worth $50 or something. Who knows? There we go. But finally, also, guys, be sure to come back. Check us out in a few days here on the Geekcentric Podcast, when we will be dropping our first watch club for the premiere of Falcon and Winter Soldier. Woo! But until then, Justin, Nate, thank you so much for joining me for today's controversial discussion. Until next time, as we always say,
love ya.
Stay home safe, guys.
Peace.